Back on the streets. All right, this is a good one on a good catch here. This guy apparently writes policy for the Department of Homeland Security. He's a inside guy. He's the guy that truly runs what the hell's going on. And he says it's not the politicians, it's not the pundits, it's him. It's him and his buddies. And that the politicians are kind of worthless in the most sense. They're just like storefront dummies. And he's, in his own words, a die-hard liberal. But he says it doesn't affect his judgment. Of course, you can take that with a grain of salt and what he says. But I would like to believe what he's saying, you know, that what he's saying is true. But, you know, when you listen, when I talk to people like this, I wonder sometimes, and one of the things I'm sorry I didn't bring up in here was getting into the bigger picture, bringing up groups like the Bilderberg group, getting beyond just the politicians, but bringing up the deeper deep state, which I didn't do with this guy. I'm sorry I didn't, because it would have been nice to get his take on that. But overall, it was still a pretty good conversation. And I never know how long I'm going to have these guys. So, if I would have kept them longer, maybe I could have gotten into that. But that's neither here nor there now. And the second part of this guy named Dennis. Dennis, known for a few years, is one of the most unique characters you'll ever meet. He was actually born just 3 doors away from where we were talking 86 years ago. And guy still works his butt off, and he well, I like talking to him. He's extreme. He's a thinker, and he's very well read. I mean, that's all he does. He's just he reads, and he's a thinker, and he's a very strongly opinionated. So he kind of comes into the conversation there, and it goes on. So this is a good one. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, you know what you do. You subscribe, you like, you share, you hit the bell button, and you support. You know, you go to my PayPal account at BadassUncleSam76 gmail.com, or you go and purchase one of my designs at BadassUncleSam.threadless.com. So I won't keep you any longer with this one because it is a long conversation, but it's an interesting one. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you like it. Remember, it's a spiritual battle we're fighting on a material plane, so please give me the material I need to stay out there on the streets. God bless you. So what you do? What now? So
I actually write policy for Homeland Security.
Interesting.
So I write border policy. Yeah.
And what is the border policy that should be followed, not being followed?
You want my personal opinion or my professional opinion?
Both.
Okay, so professionally, I'm supposed to say that we have an opioid crisis and that we need to protect our borders from that. My personal opinion is that we need to stop making immigrants go through what we're going through and putting them in humanitarian conditions. So it's interesting, right? Like, it's like this balance. So in policy, you have to really kind of live in this weird space of bipartisan. So it's like this really weird kind of like give and take policies. So,
well, now there's been exposés and some about the fact that, what you basically are, being what you're doing, are you following what the official policy is doing, or are you allowing your personal to get in the way?
So the media, no, I'm not.
Okay.
I don't, because I'm an intelligence person. So by intelligence trade, like, you're supposed to be completely bipartisan, you're apolitical.
That's good.
You're supposed to do things that are best for the country. You're not supposed to do things that are better for your party. Basically, you're a referee. You're not a coach of either team. That's what I think about it.
Now, on both, don't we indeed have an opiate crisis and a drug crisis?
Absolutely. But I don't think that border control policy is what saves that. I think that, better drug control policy helps that. I mean, a lot of our opioid crisis comes from pharmaceutical companies.
Well, indeed, I was going to bring that up. That's not just the, when you talk about drug dealers, it's the pharmaceutical companies, the biggest drug dealers we've got going on.
No, absolutely.
But indeed, there are other, there are illegal drugs that have come up. I spoke to two guys that live on the border yesterday.
Absolutely.
And they told me about.
And my boss is a CBP cop. He's the chief of policy for Homeland. He was a CBP cop for 20 years. Like he understands the on the ground, how it actually works, the reality of it, as opposed to a very theoretical. So that's what I'm saying. The media likes to portray the way that a lot of the border patrol policy is being done right now, but it's actually not the way it's actually being done. I just wrote a complete policy on northern border strategy that was completely based off of information sharing with the Canadians. It talks about working with the Canadians to kind of control the trade across the border. That's a really good policy. You know what I'm saying? So the southern border policy, that's going to take a while, but the actual policy that's being written is a lot better than the media is kind of portraying. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a diehard liberal, but it's not as bad as the media is making it out to be. Well, this wall thing is crazy. That's never going to happen.
Why?
It's not going to happen. Well, because it doesn't make sense, right? So a very basic foundation of that is that you have the majority of your towns and cities that lie on the border. They actually don't have access to internet, so they can't even report suspicious activity, much less deal with any type of influence that is being occurred or that is going over. So, let's say that we're on the border and I say, hey, there's 15, 20 plus whatever people coming over. This is happening. So it would actually take more than 6 to 8 hours for Border Patrol to even respond to that.
So wouldn't a wall help?
No.
Why not?
Because all a wall does is give you a few hours of them getting over it.
Well, would that help?
No.
Well, and again, I've talked to border agents out here that have told me exact opposite, that the wall would help.
So the wall helps initially, right? So it definitely provides a barrier for people coming in initially, but because it takes such a long response to get to these very remote locations, it doesn't actually impede flow, because the majority of your illegal immigrant population is actually coming through official border ports of entry.
Yeah, well, again, one of the guys I spoke to yesterday said he watched, he'd watch a truck come in with and then as soon as they get across the border, they would see a bunch of people run out from behind a building that snuck over, jump in the truck, and take off.
So port of entry. So instead of building a wall, you should put your resources into the manning and to the resources of the actual.
Well, why not both? I mean, why not both? I mean, the point is,
on a risk assessment, if you put more of your resources where the majority of the flow is coming through, you'd be better off.
Yeah, but again, why make it easier for them just to come over? Why not make it, they got a tunnel to climb over and make it more difficult? Why wouldn't they? Because again, the studies I've seen and the men I've talked to that are on the border, the agents themselves, said that indeed, where there are walls, it does cut dramatically down on the influx of the illegals coming in. So,
here's your analogy, right? Build a wall for literally billions and stop 15, 20 people at a time in subsets, right? Or build your resources at your actual ports of call where people are coming through and stop thousands at a time. See the difference? So alright, so your wall protects you from 15, 20 people, maybe. I'm talking max, 15, 20. Usually it's ones or twos, right? So your wall protects you from individuals coming over, but if you build your resources at your actual ports of call, or your ports of official entry, if you actually build up your resources there, you can stop thousands of illegal.
Now, you've been giving me a lot of information here on your opinion of this and what it would say.
Well, I'm biased, obviously.
Well, that's it. Does your bias affect the policy making?
No, because there are hundreds
there have been, some people are not as professional as you. Thank you for being professional.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there have been shown, people that are not just liberals, but
in my job, I'm not. I'm not a liberal in my job.
Okay.
Because it's not my job to be liberal. My job is to be bipartisan.
Well, thank
That's
you.
why
As I said, your
personally,
profession. I'm speaking other than.
No, I'm not a liberal in my profession.
Well, I'm speaking other than because thank you for being,
Absolutely. You have to be
professional.
To protect Americans, you have to be apolitical.
Thank you.
You have to protect America.
I wish more were like you because
We are.
You are?
My entire team is apolitical. It's actually one of my favorite people. He's a Coast Guard lieutenant, and he's on my policy team. And him and I couldn't be more polar opposite, personally. But him and I write the best policy together because we can call each other out on our holes and our differences, and then we write kind of centrist policy where it's better for both sides. You know what I mean?
So how do you think it's going to play out? I mean, he says he's got $8 billion for the wall. And, I mean, is he right in doing what he did, calling the national emergency?
No, it's actually illegal.
A what?
I think Pelosi is going to come out and really denounce what I mean, he's constitutionally inaccurate the way that he just did what he did.
Yeah, but now the perception is, as you can see by my question, that...
So they don't, actually. Democrats aren't for illegal immigration. Democrats are for proactive immigrant policy.
Yeah,
so
but I'm talking about perception.
Yeah,
because you've got, I mean, some of the far left out there that will be supposed.
And just because I'm a liberal doesn't mean I agree with far left at all.
Well, I understand that too. I mean, there are different degrees, and thank you for being again. You remind me of the old liberal I used to be. The one that would be.
But that's where we should be, right?
Well,
we should be on a bell curve, right?
But you've got now, and this is mainstream, where. The far left, like Cortez, seems to be
too far,
pulling them more left.
Absolutely, she's just as bad for our country as the far right.
Well, indeed, but that's what I'm saying. The perception is because you've got the people who are supposed to be marching more because you had Waters out there going, "We need to protest, and get out there. So there's supposed to be a lot of protests tomorrow about and when you get out there, I guarantee you're going to see them. No borders, no walls, no USA at all.
That's crazy too.
I know it's crazy, but it's dragging the left down.
I agree. And the far right's dragging the far right down, or the right down.
Well, not as much as left. I mean, I yesterday spoke to a guy, gay, Austin, Texas, works for Apple.
Okay. So as liberal as you can get.
As liberal. Republican. Left the Democratic Party because of exactly what we were just talking about. He says they're going so far left that I had to leave. I had to get out. And if you're familiar with #walkaway, and that's it. I mean, the left now, again, the perception is, if you look at CNN and all the rest of the BS news, they are waving that far left flag. And it is dragging the left and hurting the left dramatically.
Absolutely.
It's hurting your cause, what you like to do,
Yeah, but we don't see it that way. Because in policy, like I said, we're kind of outside of that, right? Like the people that are actually writing the policy, the people that are actually writing it, I mean, we have masters in public policy. I have a master's in international relations. Like I have a concentration in U.S. foreign policy and national security. Like that's what I do for a living. I was an intelligence analyst under Chris Christie, right? Like I worked on Chris Christie's intel team for 4 years. I brought down many terrorists. But I'm super liberal, so it's kind of a cool, people that are actually writing policy, we like to make our teams that are built of both parties, right?
Because that's it should be.
Exactly. So the media likes to portray that we're doing things a certain way, but, the intelligence community and a lot of, the policy community is writing what's best for America. And the media likes to portray it that we're going one way or the other, and then we're going
we're
too far
talking
right.
nuts and bolts. You're nuts and bolts guy. You're down here. But what about the guys that we're looking at the top echelon, the McCabe's and
they're not writing policy.
Yep.
They're the front runner. They're like the face of it, right? They're not writing policy. They're not the people that are actually. So it's like looking at the military, right? So you have soldiers on the ground who are actually carrying out mission. You have people that are commanders of that mission and they're kind of controlling the mission. But then you have people that are appropriating the commission.
Appointed ones.
Right. So those aren't the ones that are actually the money makers.
The other intelligence guys I've spoken to that says I can't stand those guys.
That's my point. You're making my point. So my point is the people that are the face of these things aren't the ones making the decisions. The media likes to portray that they are, but the people that are actually writing it get along. I'm telling you, my best friend on my policy team couldn't be more conservative. Coast Guard lieutenant from Wyoming. I'm super liberal, like, and we write the best policy together because we check and balance one another. Because what my personal opinion is and what his personal opinion is, we meet in the middle and we write what's best for America.
That's good to hear. This is very reassuring because, you know, again, maybe what you just brought up, what you hear in the media, what's being projected by the pundits.
And because it gets edited so much, like it goes through so many reviews that, like, by the time it actually goes forward, you honestly come up with it, like, it's like a bell curve, right? Like, so you have, like, your extreme left, your extreme right. The majority of your population really lives kind of like central left or central right? And that's what's best for a democracy, because that's how you vote. You vote on a bell curve platform. And the way that we write policy is that you honestly want far left and far right people to write it, because by the time that you actually cross-check balance one another, you come up with it in this bell curve.
Right, now a check balance is being countered by the overriding loud voice of the media.
But loud voices don't make it in politics.
But pushing those extremes, you hear more and more chatter about there being a clash eventually. You know, there will be a civil...
We're not clashing as much as you think. Like I said, the media likes to make DC sound very chaotic, and it likes to make it sound very like, oh, we're like getting in rooms and we're having scream matches. It's not happening. We're getting together and we're being like, what do you think's best? Okay, what do you think's best? Okay, cool. Let's like right in the middle and let's figure out what is best for our civilians. Let's figure out what is best for the majority population, and then that's what we write. That's the way the policy is actually happening. That's a realist perspective as opposed to like a theoretical media perception.
So do the politicians actually do anything, or is it mostly just
politicians, their job is to grandstand, right? Like their job is to grandstand on super...
You are correct. Like, he is correct, because number one, the people that's not elected,
we're the ones that work.
The politicians behind the people.
So what good is voting?
They're lost.
It's good because you need people to grandstand for both, because that brings the policy writers to understand the extreme of both sides, and then we write down the middle. You need somebody to stand up for the...
So you're really listening to the people?
We listen to the people, yeah. It brings it into balance, right? Like, so you have these politicians that run for the very far left, very far right, because that's the only way you can win right now.
Well, if you were listening to the people, she'd be in jail.
Well, so would he be.
For what?
Are you kidding? Illicit finance, tax evasion. Working with Russia. I mean, Jesus. You lived through the Cold War.
Where did he work with Russia? I mean, the Senate committee just came out and said that they could.
Oh, so now you want to listen to the politicians?
Well, no, I'm just saying.
You can't choose when you listen to politicians.
No. Again, both the Congress and the Senate committee
are intelligence professionals.
But I haven't seen collusion is not a crime. There's no code for collusion.
So it's cool that we're working with Putin.
But why would he work? Why would Putin want to make America's economy and military stronger?
Well, he doesn't, and he.
Well, then why would he want Trump?
We're not stronger right now.
We're not?
No. He's about to pull millions of dollars from DOD funding to build a physical infrastructure so that he can stamp the Trump name on it.
Yeah, but the military guys, again, contradiction. The military guys I've spoken to said they are now getting the funding they need.
Yeah, but it's about to be pulled. Because he's about to pull $8 billion from DOD funding to build his infrastructure on his building.
Yeah, but he's brought the military back.
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
he hasn't.
Military guys.
No, we're actually less resilient and less prepared to fight anything right now. And he's ruining our perception on the world stage as a Western power. We are not number one in the world anymore. But it's okay, because we're resilient. Nobody. That's the problem. But it's okay, because we'll come back. I mean,
so what are your predictions for the 2020? What do you think is going to happen?
Honestly, I think he's here for 8 years.
Okay.
Because I think it's really hard. I don't want him to be here for 8 years, but I think it's really hard.
Who would you like to be in?
I don't think the Democrats have a solid choice.
No.
Anyway, it was really good talking.
Hey, it was a pleasure. Here, let me give you a get-out-of-jail-free card from Hillary Clinton, which is good for any crime in the world.
I've only ever voted for Clinton. I worked for him.
Oh, yeah, okay. That was an interesting conversation.
Huh?
That was an interesting conversation. This guy works for...
I know what he works for.
Okay.
I understood.
You know everything. You're a wise old sage.
I'm telling you. You're he gets this deal, it's a slippery slope. The states don't have any rights. You got to read all the law. Wait a minute. You got to read all the laws that's attached, not just some of the laws.
One, I'll give you this. It's a slippery slope, but I think he knows that, and I think he's being forced into doing that. One, by if it's nothing else, by perception for his base. To go ahead.
That's understandable.
And
he should have just accepted the offer that was offered.
I would have lost his base.
I don't think so.
Oh, I think
okay.
Absolutely.
He's not going to be elected again. But I agree with him 100%.
Oh, he said he would be elected again.
Yes, he did, but I disagree with him 100%. I don't think he's going to be elected again. But here's the law. The rights, speedy fair trial was suspended in 61 to 65. If he gets his way, the next president can declare a national emergency in any state, and the feds can go in. And there's nothing that can be stopped.
It's been that way for a while.
Wait a minute. They can say, oh, there's a riot here, and we'll suspend everybody's
It's been that way for a while.
I know, but it can be a law.
But again, it's been that way for a while in any event.
But nobody
most likely Clinton would have got in, she definitely would have used it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, though, it could be used for Democrats, could be used for Republicans, and anything.
Well, Dennis, both you and I know that these suckers could do anything they want any time they want, no matter what the damn Constitution laws state.
I know that, but
they'd have to face whatever wrath might come about. But you and I both know that most Americans are too busy with their nose stuck in their iPhones and giving shit about their own personal problems to actually revolt against anything.
I understand all of that, but I'm just saying though, you don't want to give up what little freedom we have. Central planning is there. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do is get this.
Again,
but there's more laws in what you think that's attached to this. That's basically what I'm saying. There's all kind of laws, and this is attached to one law. You're giving the government the rights to control you. You're giving up your freedom.
Well, hell,
you don't have that much freedom left.
That was gone a long time ago.
I know, but you don't have that much left. You got a little.
Especially with the,
you have a little, but you don't have.
9/11 with the.
I understand that, but you're giving up everything.
I don't think so.
You're wrong.
Well, I might be wrong, but I don't think so. I think I mean, to a degree,
you're definitely incorrect because you're not reading all the laws. You're not reading all the laws. They can use 1861 to 1865, and they can use this one and attach it. We don't have any fucking freedom. They can tell you what to do. Jump. How high? Now.
But will we do it? I mean, will people revolt? I don't know.
I don't think so. Because number one...
Why? It depends, because I have talked to enough people out here to know that there are
going to be a few. But they can be gotten rid of.
I think there could be more than a few for this fact, too. I mean...
So what, 30 million? That's nothing. You can get rid of 30 million people in a hurry.
It's a lot of people.
It ain't nothing.
But the hell it ain't.
You seem to think that 30 million people is something? That's nothing. They can come in as
who's going to come in?
You can get help from other countries. This
that ain't going to happen. Help from other countries. Come on, you really think that America did stand for like a UN army coming in or something like that to quell our rebellion?
You talk to these fucking people who are so damn scared that they don't want to get a DHL. You got people taking cameras.
That's what it's there for.
So anyhow, like I said, if you read William Wayne Chris's book, who was a Supreme Court justice, and see what he has to say, all but one law, and I tell you what, it is scary as hell. Mm-hmm. He predicted what's going to happen when he wrote the book. He really did. And he predicted that everything is going to be done from central government. And so far, he's right.
Well, the Bible predicted that.
Yeah, so does William Rehnquist hurt. Because, giving up our freedom. We're giving it up left and right. We're not fighting for it.
We've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, but, we're giving up more and more.
We've been doing that for a long time. But again, I think there's starting to be a pushback. I think people are realizing what's going on. One factor that I don't think anybody's factored in or didn't factor in was the internet. I mean, the idea that people have open access now to a wealth of information and it can be transmitted immediately was never factored in any of the plans.
Yeah, right. That's on the last
so, but it's meant a lot because it's allowed the free flow of information to happen and the expansion of knowledge and consciousness that was never factored in ever before. So we really don't know. It's sort of like, a question mark. We really don't know how that's going to factor in
right.
to what we know and has been predicted by the little Rehnquist, by the Bible itself.
Yeah.
So these things are,
watch out, the world's going to end in 12 more years.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to be dead.
No, I don't know about you. You're going to outlast the world, I think. You'll be floating around in the void going, I told you so!
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. And it scares the hell out of me when I read, like in Rehnquist's book, he predicted like future worlds, and it's the last chapter. And he predicted a lot of things that's coming true. And this book was written 25 years ago.
Yeah, well, a lot of anybody that the scholars that you pay attention.
Well, he wrote the laws. He knows.
You see the patterns. I mean, if you haven't, read The Fourth Turning. That is an excellent book. You will love it. The Fourth Turning.
The Fourth Turning?
And what it does.
Who's it by? Do you remember?
I can't remember offhand.
Okay, it's The Fourth Turning?
The Fourth Turning. Get it and read it. I might even have a copy.
No. I'll pick it up because I'm keeping it.
It's a book that it's some political philosopher, scholars that studied
critical thinking,
the 500-year history of Western politics and noticed a cycle.
Yeah, they got an 80-year cycle?
Thank you.
Okay.
The 80-year cycles, and it goes every fourth turning is a major event.
Right.
And
every fourth turning, there's a war.
Thank you. And we're in the fourth turning now.
Yeah.
We're in a fourth turning that is
Okay, let's go back. 80 years passed. World War II.
Yeah.
World War I.
Yeah.
Not counting police action in Korea. Then you had the Civil War.
Yeah. So the book follows the cycles, patterns, and everything else of what's going down and why and how each...
See, I'm not really stupid.
Well, I never consider you. And each generation forgets, and the powers that be take advantage of this.
People forget.
Forgetful knowledge to go ahead and manipulate them into where they would like them to be.
Yeah, definitely. But everybody says, well, it's that 1%. No, it's not 1%. You have a small minority of people in the world, not in the United States, but in the world, that actually, you think you have choices, but you actually don't.
No.
You haven't had a choice in 100 years, or better.
More.
I said or better. 100 years or better.
Yeah.
You go from Wilson, which wasn't a choice. He was put in office for a purpose, to sign the China Federal Reserve Act. Right. And he admitted to it after he left office. Worst decision I ever made. So, well, anyhow, you go there, and ever since then they've been grooming these people for him. Even this guy was kind of not really groomed, but they put him in office for a reason. Now, what was that reason? I don't have the slightest idea. He was put in office for a reason. He was put in office to slide this forward again. I think he might have been a product of the internet. I was talking about the aspect of that unknown. That unknown factor. Because remember, if they would have loved
to have Bush or Hillary in.
Well, no.
They would have loved that.
Sanders, Bush, or Hillary.
Well, it wouldn't have made a difference. Hillary would have been Sanders. I mean,
I know, but I'm just saying. No, I think Sanders would have been much worse.
Oh yeah, but either way, it'd still be that heavy push towards the ultimate war and complete control that they were looking for. I think he was a byproduct of the internet that they didn't factor in.
Well, I don't factor in the internet anyhow. So, I mean, I never did. So I got to look at it from a new concept now, because I know what you're talking about in a court attorney. Okay, I knew that. And I know the 80-year cycle that goes into it. Every 80 to 100 years, there's a cycle in a war.
Yeah.
People forget.
Yeah.
Well, people forget so much. I mean, let's face it.
Well,
9/11 is forgotten.
And now,
you ask any school kid about 9/11. The only thing he knows is what he's taught, and he's taught wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a post on the other side that does quite well. If you bring it to school, they say you're nuts.
Yeah, I mean, just
3 to 2.
Just yesterday, I was watching YouTube about that or newscast, whatever it was, about people asking, well, fill in this blank. Gorbachev said, or Ronald Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, bring down that, fill in the blank.
Like, wow.
People didn't know. You know, they would go, economy, they just didn't know. I know. So, they were asking simple questions like that of something that would happen within our generation, or 50 years ago, 40, 30 years ago.
50 years ago.
50 years ago. How time flies.
You were younger by 40 years, and I was younger by 40 years. But I was still an old man.
Oh, yeah. They're ancient. Yeah. I think you're around with the pharaohs.
No, I'm serious. You're bringing up 40 years. That's not even half my life.
Yeah, I know. I know, as I said, you could be, after the world ends, you could be floating around in the void going...
No, you just brought up a shop, because, it is a shop.
Yeah.
I was an old man 40 years ago, and you just said 40 years, and I'm just going, wait a minute. 40 years ago?
Yeah, but that would be...
I was an old man then.
Yeah, but 45 years old was an old...
I was an old man.
45 ain't old. Come on.
I think it is.
Make me 45 again.
So, okay, but I'm just looking at it, though. What you just done is saying, okay, in your lifetime, so many things have happened. I'm just realizing it, what I have seen.
Oh, what we've seen. I mean, you went from horse and buggy, for crying out loud, to
horse whips.
To now that,
Yeah, basically, I seen prop planes to jet planes.
Sure.
I seen rockets that was only done in books to something that can actually fly. When you stop and think about it, you go, what?
You saw the advent of TV.
Actually,
oh, come on! I remember getting the first TV, for crying out loud. How it came out.
Do you know what country had free television in the 30s?
Germany.
What year?
I think it was 38, if I'm not mistaken.
36.
36.
Yeah. 36.
Yeah.
I'll give you credit for 2 years, and that was free.
Yeah. Well, they knew what a valuable tool it would be for propaganda. That's why they gave it out.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean.
You know what? We just answered questions that the common, ordinary people cannot answer, because it happened. It happened within my lifetime.
Yeah.
I still remember going from here to all the way to DH Homes on Canal Street and seeing my first television in '51.
Yeah.
They had a big display in the front window.
Yeah.
We got dressed, walked right down here, walked over there, and walked all the way to Canal Street.
You got dressed up to go see a TV, huh?
Yeah, because they had a big opening. I still remember that. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
No, I don't think you're kidding.
Look up on the internet when DHLS had their first television. They were this big,
I can remember.
that high, with a little screen like this.
I remember my dad getting the first one that came out, man. I remember sitting in front of it watching Mickey Mouse Club, you know.
So, like I'm saying, that's within my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, hey, look. I remember having a fucking outhouse. Yeah. Yeah.
There was no bathroom on the third floor of that.
Yeah.
It was right here.
Yeah. As I say, we've come a long way, baby. So in our lifetimes, in our 80 years, this has been the big expansion that we know of in history. Because before this, when you look at the Clara, I mean, we were like this for a long, long time, and then what happened? Yeah, and then the Industrial Revolution, and then
hockey stick.
Yeah, and now it's expanding so dramatically. It's like fast. It's exponential. That's why
when you buy an iPhone today, or you buy a model,
by the time you get home,
yeah, by the time you leave there and get home, the new technology is out there already.
Yeah, we know that.
And you're going, wait a minute, I just bought this phone and the new one's, Jesus Christ, 6 months.
And we know that what they give us is 30, 40.
And I remember reading a book that said it's within your lifetime, if you be in your 30s. And the computers, the information is going to double every 6 months. And I said, no way. And now I'm looking at it every 90 days. It does doubles. Always something new. No matter what it is, it's always something new.
What is it called? Is it the Watson? There's a name for it.
Yeah, there is a name for it, but I don't remember what it was. But there's a name for it. It's like doubling every 90 days.
Yeah, there's a name for it. I can't remember what it is, but we're in that right now.
Yeah,
that's why again, most of the people, people can't keep up with it. Normal people can't keep up with that. But especially as old farts, can't begin to do it.
I know how to turn the computer on.
Yeah,
you got an on switch and it says on and off.
So we're all going to be fine.
Don't ask me to get up there and actually work in it.
Hey, no. If you'd like to leave anything in the Bulletproof Vest Fund, it's always appreciated.
They had
any small donation. Unless you're a liberal, then everything's free, and some responsible Republican will pay your way through life like they always do, and you can keep on mooching off everybody else.